crash in Aiken County earlier this morning caused that bridge over I-20 with some massive detours. While the injuries are minor, leaders say the damage is extensive, and we spoke with emergency crews to find out the next steps to recovery.
A bridge came crashing down in the United States last June. It's not from an earthquake, not from a hurricane, but from a truck carrying gasoline. The impact sent flames into the sky. The heat was too much, and within minutes, the overpass collapsed onto Interstate 20, one of the nation's busiest east-west corridors, severing the artery completely. Emergency crews rushed to the scene. Traffic backed up for miles in both directions. And while engineers worked around the clock to clear the wreckage, nobody asked the question that mattered. How many more are waiting to fail the exact same way? Subscribe to The Critical Fault, because what happened on I-20 wasn't an isolated incident. It was a preview, a demonstration of what's coming when aging infrastructure meets routine stress and the backup systems don't exist. And while the public watched one bridge get demolished and replaced within 36 hours, the data hiding in federal inventories tells a far more terrifying story. Over 41,600 bridges across America are rated in poor condition right now, and 163 million vehicles cross them every single day. Here's what actually happened starting early morning last June. A tanker truck carrying gasoline collided with another vehicle on Interstate 20 near the South Carolina-Georgia border. The truck was carrying 8,500 gallons of gasoline. The crash sent massive flames into the sky. The fire was too intense. The old Vaucluse Road overpass was compromised by the crash and collapsed onto the interstate below. Both directions of I-20, a critical transcontinental route, were completely severed. Traffic stopped. Supply chains halted. Emergency services couldn't cross. And the bridge had been inspected just months earlier and was not on the list of compromised bridges in the state. Read that again. The bridge passed inspection. It wasn't flagged as dangerous. It wasn't scheduled for replacement. And it still came down from a routine truck fire, the kind that happens somewhere in America almost every week. Now think about what that means for the over 41,600 bridges officially rated in poor condition. If a bridge that passed inspection can collapse from fire, what happens to the ones already classified as structurally deficient? Because those bridges exist, right now, across every state. Nearly 221,800 U.S. bridges need major repair or replacement. Placed end-to-end, these structures span over 6,100 miles, roughly the equivalent of every mile of urban and rural interstate in California, Florida, and Illinois combined. But here's what makes this an existential threat to the highway system. These aren't just bridges. They're the connective tissue of the interstate network. When one fails, it doesn't just close a bridge. It severs entire highway corridors, cuts off emergency routes, forces traffic onto secondary roads never designed to handle interstate volumes, and creates cascading failures across the entire system. The I-20 collapse proved this in real time. Interstate 20 was closed in both directions between Bettis Academy Road and Edgefield Highway. The detour added hours to cross-country freight routes. Supply chains stumbled. Emergency services had to reroute. And that was just one bridge on one interstate. South Carolina scrambled. Crews worked overnight to demolish and remove the damaged bridge. They repaved damaged sections, replaced guardrails, and reopened the interstate within 36 hours. But that was emergency response to a single failure. Now imagine that scenario repeating across the over 41,600 bridges in poor condition, simultaneously carrying 163 million daily crossings. And it's not just fire. It's not just collisions. Bridges are failing from age alone. Last May, another collapse. Mississippi. The Highway 98 bridge over the Homachito River in Franklin County collapsed during construction. Concrete beams gave out. The structure came down. Nobody was injured, but only because it happened during off hours. The bridge opening that was supposed to be completed in 2026 is now delayed indefinitely. Residents who've been waiting years for the reopening now face more years of detours. And Mississippi isn't unique. It's the pattern. 2 years ago, March 2024, the Francis Scott Key Bridge in Baltimore. A container ship lost power, collided with a support column, The bridge collapsed in less than a minute. 6 construction workers died. The more than 38,000 drivers who used the bridge daily suddenly had no crossing. Drivers are collectively spending an extra 21,000 hours in traffic every weekday because of the detours. For one longshoreman, his commute went from a tight 20 minutes to more than an hour. And the replacement? Construction started early 2025. The new bridge won't open until late 2030. That's 6 years without that interstate crossing. 6 years of rerouted freight. 6 years of lost productivity, 6 years of supply chain disruptions, all from one bridge. After the Key Bridge collapse, federal investigators got serious. The National Transportation Safety Board released findings. They identified a problem. Older bridges were built before modern ship collision standards existed. They weren't designed for today's massive container vessels. So NTSB issued a recommendation: conduct vulnerability assessments on 68 bridges nationwide to evaluate their risk of catastrophic collapse from vessel strikes. 68 bridges flagged as potentially vulnerable. That includes the Golden Gate Bridge, the George Washington Bridge, the Chesapeake Bay Bridge, the Verrazzano Narrows Bridge, icons of American infrastructure. And the NTSB recommendation doesn't suggest these bridges are certain to collapse, just that they need evaluation. But here's what's terrifying. If 68 major bridges need urgent vulnerability assessments for one type of failure, how many need assessments for all the other ways bridges fail? Age, corrosion, fire, overloading, flooding, earthquakes. Because the data is clear. Approximately 221,800 bridges need repair work or replacement. About 45% of bridges have exceeded their planned design lives of 50 years. And 63,085 bridges were posted for load in 2024, meaning they have weight restrictions that prevent heavy trucks from crossing. Think about what that means for freight, for emergency vehicles, for school buses. They're forced onto alternate routes that add time, add cost, add wear to other infrastructure not designed for that traffic. And when those posted bridges finally fail completely, the detours get longer, the costs get higher, the system gets more fragile. Based on average cost data, it would cost over $400 billion to make all needed repairs to these bridges. $400 billion. The 2021 Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act provided $27.5 billion over 5 years for bridge formula funding. That's roughly $5.5 billion per year. At that rate, it would take 73 years to address the backlog. And that's assuming no new bridges deteriorate to poor condition during that time, which they will. Because between 2014 and 2023, about 4,127 bridges per year were replaced. But deterioration is outpacing replacement. In 2025, the number of bridges in poor condition rose in North Carolina, New York, and Illinois. States are losing ground. And here's what connects this to the 1-800 miles rated imminent danger in the title. It's not that 1-800 miles of highway are currently collapsed. It's that if the over 41,600 bridges in poor condition start failing at an accelerated rate, and history suggests they will, those bridges will sever roughly 1,800 miles of interstate corridors. Not immediately, but progressively. One failure leads to rerouted traffic. Rerouted traffic overloads secondary bridges. Secondary bridges fail faster under the increased load, and the cascade accelerates. The I-20 collapse showed this pattern in miniature. One bridge failure forced detours that added hours to freight routes. Now multiply that by thousands of bridges failing over the next decade. The data shows which states are most vulnerable. Iowa has the highest percentage of bridges in poor condition, 18.6%. West Virginia, 16.1%. South Dakota, 15.4%. Rhode Island, 14.0%. Pennsylvania has 2,163 bridges in poor condition. Louisiana, 1,423. Michigan, 1,250. These aren't small numbers in isolated rural areas. These are bridges carrying daily commerce, emergency services, school buses. The average age of a bridge in poor condition is 68 years, compared to 32 years for a bridge in good condition. And those 68-year-old bridges were designed for 1950s-era traffic volumes and truck weights. Today's trucks are heavier, traffic is denser, climate events are more extreme, and the bridges are older than ever. Washington State provides a case study in what happens when maintenance is deferred. A recent report found Washington ranks 48th out of 50 states for highway cost-effectiveness and condition. The state is home to 342 bridges that are at least 80 years old. 212 spans are in poor condition. And last December, Washington got a preview of what infrastructure collapse looks like. U.S. Highway 2, a major east-west crossing over the Cascades, was closed along a nearly 50-mile stretch after flooding and debris slides. Parts of the roadway collapsed entirely. 2 weeks later, only partial reopening was possible. Governor Bob Ferguson admitted fully reopening the highway would take a long time, with no cost estimate available. This wasn't a bridge failure. This was roadway collapse, and it severed a critical mountain pass for weeks. The pattern is clear. Infrastructure fails. Detours overload secondary routes. Secondary routes fail faster. The system becomes more fragile with each failure, and the backup systems don't exist because they were never built. The I-20 bridge that collapsed? Work on the replacement began in November and isn't expected to be complete until spring 2026. 9 months for one overpass. The Francis Scott Key Bridge? 6 years until replacement opens. And those are priority projects with emergency funding and political attention. What about the over 600 bridges in poor condition that aren't getting headlines? The ones quietly deteriorating in Iowa and Pennsylvania and Louisiana? They'll fail eventually, and when they do, there won't be emergency funding. There won't be 36-hour demolition and reopening. There will be years-long closures, permanent detours, and progressive collapse of the interstate highway system. States have received $21.2 billion in the first 4 years of the Infrastructure Law's Bridge Formula program. They've committed 55% to over 6,000 bridge projects. That sounds like progress. It's not enough. Because while those 6,000 projects move forward, new bridges continue to be classified as structurally deficient. The backlog isn't shrinking fast enough. And every year that passes, the 45% of bridges that have exceeded their 50-year design lives get 1 year older, 1 year weaker, 1 year closer to failure. The I-20 collapse happened in June. The Highway 98 collapse in Mississippi happened in May. The Francis Scott Key Bridge collapsed 2 years ago. These aren't theoretical risks. These are current events. And 163 million vehicles cross bridges in poor condition every single day. Every single day, without knowing they're driving over infrastructure that engineers have officially classified as structurally deficient. The countdown is running. The bridge formula funding is helping, but it's decades behind the deterioration curve. And the next wave of failures won't be isolated incidents fixed in 36 hours. There'll be systemic collapse, permanent severing of interstate corridors, and progressive disintegration of the highway system that took 35 years to build and would take centuries to replace at current funding levels. Stay tuned. This is The Critical Fault.